Welcome to the press conference of the Public Accounts Committee. Today, the committee has tabled in council its reports number 78 and 79. These two chapters cover 12 chapters in total. That is, the reports cover 12 chapters. The committee has decided to hold public hearings on 3 of the chapters with more serious irregularities, which include Chapter 2, Licensing Services for Drivers, and Chapter 3, Management of the Development at Anderson Road Project of the Director of Audit's Report number 78, and Chapter 1, Continuing Education Fund, or the CEF, of the Director of Audit's Report number 79. The committee's reports tabled today only cover the 2 chapters on licensing services for drivers and the CEF. The committee is still following up on the chapter on management of the development at Anderson Road Project and will table a supplemental report in due course. As for the other 9 chapters, the relevant bureaus, departments, and organizations have, at the request of this committee, addressed members' issues of concern in writing. I will first invite the 2 respective lead members to briefly introduce the 2 chapters on which public hearings were held. And then we'll see if other members have anything to jump in on, and then we will be happy to take questions from the media. First, Deputy Chairman, Mr. Paul Tse, who will tell us about Chapter 2 in Report number 78, Licensing Services for Drivers. Mr. Tse, please. Good afternoon. We know that for many traffic accidents, the cause has to do with the driver. And the driving tests really matter. We need enough training for the drivers, and we also need mechanisms to deal with the issues effectively. There are a few points of interest. First, the provision of driving tests and the road tests for non-commercial vehicles, that is private cars, and also the management of driving test centers, and also the licensing for private driving instructors, or PDIs. For some driving test centers, they fail to meet legal requirements before starting operations. I can go into greater detail in a moment, but I want to focus on some points of public interest first. First, the written tests. There were reports that the question bank was not updated for 20 years. So over the 2 decades, there were changes to the laws, but the changes were not covered in the exams of those years. In September 2020, the question bank was updated, but many who took the test at the time when the question bank wasn't updated. So the Transport Department, or TD, has updated the question bank. They have also pledged to update the question bank. This is an area we focused on, and we hope to see results. The second point of interest, the road tests for non-commercial vehicles or private cars, we find this totally unacceptable. The waiting time was too long. More driving examiners are available, but the waiting time got longer. There are several reasons. Every day in the morning, the driving examiners have to report for duty on Pui Ching Road at the test center there, and then when they knock off, they have to visit that center. There's plenty of unnecessary traveling time undermining efficiency. Back in 2019, there was a report. Recommendations were made. This issue had to be dealt with, but there was no follow-up. So we hope the Transport Department can improve their system to boost the efficiency. Another point is that there was a pledge. Once an applicant signed up within a certain time frame, they could take the road test. The pledge was removed. So we hope there will be a mechanism to address this matter. As for the management of driving test centers or DTCs, there were 4 driving test centers run by the same organization. The TD consulted the Competition Commission on improvement measures, so the TD has pledged to do better in this regard. Apart from looking at the rental proposal, TD would also look at the technical assessment. So the split for rental and technical assessment will be 50-50 to ensure quality of the DTCs. Now turning to the driving examiners or DEs, we're focused on several issues. Many private driving instructors or PDIs got their license but then did not go on to teach. There were some inactive PDIs. So the government pledged to explore what to do about the inactive PDIs. There used to be a mechanism to set aside 25% of the licenses for the Group 1, Group 2, or Group 3 of the PDIs, and then the 75% of the quota would be set aside for the public. The government would also look into whether this split makes sense. But I will not go too much into detail on this point. Now, for DTCs that did not meet legal requirements, say one did not obtain the occupation permit before operating, we noted the problem. So we hope the government could regulate such matters. There have been inadequacies on the part of the TD. Improvements have been made. We're just hoping that the waiting time can be shortened for road tests, and for the number of hours of driving training, there are guidelines setting out a minimum of 30 hours before a driving test. But then the information available shows that PDIs do not offer 30 hours. In reality, only 22 or 23 hours of driving training is available before a driving test. There needs to be clearer guidelines or regulations. The TD has pledged to look more into this issue.
I'll now invite the other lead member, Ms. Eunice Yong, to brief us on the other item. In this audit report, we have reviewed the operation of the Continuing Education Fund, that is the CEF. This CEF was launched in 2002, and it aims to subsidize adults with learning aspirations to pursue continuing education and training with a view to facilitating Hong Kong's transition to a knowledge-based economy. We are concerned about this original purpose of setting up the fund and whether the operation of the fund is in line with this purpose or aim. We paid attention to the role of the Labor and Welfare Bureau, which is responsible for overseeing the operation of CEF. The head Working Family and Student Financial Assistance Agency is the controlling officer of CEF, and the Office of CEF is responsible for the administration of CEF. The Hong Kong Council for Accreditation of Academic and Vocational Qualifications provides advisory service on the implementation of CEF, including conducting assessments of applications for CEF course registrations, renewals, and amendments, and monitoring the quality of reimbursable courses. This report is about the duties and responsibilities of these 3 parties. and it monitors the performances of these 3 agencies or departments. $16.2 billion were approved by LegCo, and also $5 billion and another $1.2 billion were approved. The accumulated expenditure is about $5.52 billion, and the balance of the fund is $10.6 billion. We paid attention to the operation of the fund and also the operation of reimbursable courses. Regarding 2.4 to 2.7 of the report, we asked how the relevant party shorten the processing time of the applications, and also how they can ensure that all the required documents were submitted for processing the applications. We also asked if LWB will ensure the use of technology, for instance, the setting up of an electronic platform to keep track of the processing time of the applications. We want the relevant bureau and department can make good use of technology and follow the recommendations of the Audit Commission in the report in monitoring the quality of the courses, and we hope that the relevant government departments can actually do the monitoring work well. According to Para 3.3 of the audit report, we noted that over the past 5 budget years, the reimbursable claims amount has been increasing from 1,417 cases to 6,555 cases. We asked why there was the increasing trend and how come the claims were not processed in the specified time. We also are concerned about the promotion of the CEF courses. We saw from media reports that there are concerns about the way they promote their courses. We noted that the agency failed to ensure that the course providers observe the relevant regulations when they promoted their courses. We strongly recommend that the LWB request the course providers to provide promotion materials when they register for their courses and make this a prerequisite of their registration, and also enhance inspection on the online promotional materials uploaded by course providers. If there are any breaches of the relevant rules or regulations, the government bureau or department should take certain measures. And also, the relevant regulations under the national security law should be incorporated in the terms and conditions. We have to make sure that there is the application of technology in processing the relevant applications or disbursement of funds under the CEF. We think that technology can be a solution to all these problems. We have a few major recommendations. One of them was, as mentioned, using technology and how we can step up inspection of the online materials and to make sure that the quality of the courses is up to standard. Also, on the relation between the accreditation council and the bureau, I think there should be clear clawback clauses incorporated into the service agreements. We see that the LWB hasn't signed an official service agreement with the Accreditation Council. They have a fee proposal, but it's not a proper service agreement. So we reminded LWB to sign an official service agreement with the Accreditation Council, setting out the duties and responsibilities of the council. Regarding the number of hours of inspections and their responsibilities, these should all be spelled out in the agreement. LWB is currently working on the 156 unsuccessful inspections conducted in the years 2017 to 18 and the year 2020 to 21. And we asked the Bureau to make the arrangement for the refund of $3.7 million service fees paid for the unsuccessful inspections. These are the issues we noticed from the report on CEF. Do the other members have anything to add based on what the lead members have told the press? If not, we now open the floor to our media friends. It's now time for questions. Please identify your media outlet before you ask your questions.
From the South China Morning Post. For the first question, we wanted to ask what is the PAC's response towards the response by the relevant government departments towards the PAC suggestions, namely the response on the drivers and road tests and driver's license issue, and also the issues related to the continuing education fund. And also the second question is that we wanted to ask why did the PAC believe there is a need to put a national security clause in the CEF terms and condition for the course providers? Does it see that there's an issue or a loophole regarding national security risks or instances that it thinks it needs to be addressed? Thank you.
I would like to ask Vice Chair to answer your question first.
Well, basically, the government's response is positive in the sense that all the suggestions, recommendations of the audit committee or audit department has been adopted. So in a way, they agree to whatever they've been criticized about. So basically, it's a very cooperative response.
Okay. Eunice?
Yeah, for the CEF fund, we also think that the government has a very positive attitude on the implementation or on the PAC's recommendation or the audit recommendation, and also on the grounds for the technology, the usage for the technology. We believe that the LWD will take up the responsibility on doing more on the monitoring and the inspection for all the courses which to be registered, and also how do they deployed more on the net technology device, on taking up the evaluating on the assessment for the refund for students, and on the time usage, and how do they reduce on the time spent on these applications. And we note that there is only 6% of the applications has been done online, and most of them are doing on paper. So we've urged them to take a look on how do they improve on the current situation, and what measures they can what measures they can take in order to put more let the institute to take more part on giving online surveys or the online applications for all the students, and we urge the institutes to do so. And also for the national security issue, as the national security law has stated, the government, and including all the schools, which talks about the national security issues, they should have taken all necessary measures, including for the promotions, for the guidance and monitoring planning and on the administration. And that's why we strongly urge the LWD on the fund terms and to add this national security relative guidance and also the recommendations for them to be input into these terms.
Okay.
有冇其他問題？
Any other questions? Any other member? Any member wishes to jump in? It's a lengthy report. I'm sure we have set out all those information from the report. Any other questions from the journalists? Anything that any member wants to jump in on? If there's no other further question, I thank you for attending the press conference today. We will let you know if there's anything else. Thank you.